So that was Mr.
Chew.
That's going on the best of right there.
Recorded live, coast to coast, it's a Nissan Nation podcast. From camping, racing, and all points in between. The NNP is your Nissan Nation podcast. Now start your engines and welcome in your hosts, David, Danny, and Holden.
What is going on, Nissan Nation? From all things Nissan here in Middle Tennessee to Danny's bed over in Southern California and to Holden, what did you call your room? Is that a man cave of some sort? This is your Nissan Nation podcast. And guys, it's been a while, man. This is the longest break we've had in a long time.
Yes, we have been away for too long. And actually a lot of news, a lot of shake-up stuff's been going on. And I mean, even, what was it, maybe yesterday and even still today, all kinds of stuff's going down in the Nissan world, and
computers, trucks,
on
all kinds of things.
Yeah, on top of all that, you know, we've been having some little adventures here and there, and so we got a lot to share tonight, as well as a special guest. So I think it's a great show tonight, and we got a lot to cover.
We do. And Holden, how's the ATL holding up, man? Like Nissan, I know there's some headaches going on right now. Is everybody still sane over there, right?
Yeah, everyone, for the most part, everyone's doing good. So it was a crazy week, but they got everything sorted out, I guess. So
nice. So
back to business as normal, just in time for the weekend.
Well, that's the way to do it, man. So if you guys don't know, we were sharing with Danny. Danny was doing some racing over last weekend, and he actually finished a race. Which Danny, cheers to you, sir. Cheers to you for actually being with a team that can finish a race. But all kinds of fun things going on. I've had meetings with Nissan over a Frontier issue that, like, all of our listeners were like, we hinted it, and might as well talk about it right now. We hinted it, guys. Danny, what were we, 30 minutes from dropping a picture of the next Frontier?
We had a full press release typed up. I had typed up 3/4 of a press release on it. Dave was we were getting ready to make sure that all of our bells and whistles were ready to be belled and whistled.
Yep.
That didn't happen.
No, then I get a phone call from Nissan, and it's a friend of ours, and she was like, "Hey, can we discuss something that you have?" And I was like, "Of course we can discuss. My Nissan Titan outside? What's going on, man?" And so for everybody that we've had some people call bullshit on what the photo we have, but guys, I will tell you, it is not BS when you get a phone call from Nissan PR saying, "Hey, can we have a lunch just before you drop that picture?" And
yeah,
sure enough, we took a lunch, and I had a salad, and they had some expensive meals.
We want to be partners with Nissan and not enemies with Nissan, because at the end of the day, we want to help them as much as possible, and they do want to help us as much as possible as well. So as much as we want to bring you guys the latest and greatest, coolest, most amazing stuff ever, which the new Frontier is, by the way. It's literally like in between a Warrior and a Raptor.
Yeah. I
mean, it's an amazing looking truck. And
and if they would listen to when Holden was talking about the third gen news that he had, and that's well over a year and almost a half ago, like the picture that we all seen was like dead on everything you described, man. It was like really, really cool. But when they give us the go ahead that says, hey, you can sneak a picture out there, we definitely will. But till then, guys, just know that we've seen it. It's freaking amazing, and
it's gonna happen.
I know, like I was told by a reporter, other than maybe somebody releasing news about the next GTR, like if you had any kind of Nissan news, this is the bombshell that you would want to drop. So, and speaking of bombshells, guys, why did no reporter pick up on auto news? Holden had to actually bring it to our attention of like, hey man, the Nissan's killing the diesel. So I looked into it further, and sure enough, and all that day, nobody was reporting it. So we break the news, I wouldn't say officially since Auto News did it, but we got it out to the public, and then once again, you get all these diesel bros out there calling BS on on what we're doing. I do a video, it instantly gets like 2,500 downloads or views, and all these people are fighting on these XD Facebook pages, and next thing you know, the diesel is no more. So I don't know, guys.
You kind of broke the story in a way that wasn't just a short blurb on a rundown. You know, the Auto Guide, or was it Auto News?
Auto News.
Just a very short blurb, and I don't know if I'd call that breaking the news. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We popped out. I mean, mainly you, after Holden brought it to our attention, and you said, "Hey, everyone, this is what's going on," and nobody's talking about it. And I think that's more breaking the news, because it spread like wildfire after you sent it out through all the forums and everything. All of a sudden, other people were picking it up, and there's YouTube videos popping out, et cetera, et cetera. So, it was big news. The Cummins diesel is no longer in the Titan. That was the news, and it spread pretty quick. And I think most people know it. If you didn't know, the diesel is no longer going to be available in the Titan in the 2020 model. Correct, Dave? It is 2020, correct?
Yeah, they'll be rolling. The last ones will roll off the line December of 19, and that's it.
Yeah, so that's a big deal. They did a big push with that motor, and it ended up coming down to Cummins and Nissan no longer, wanted that contract to go on. Whether it was Cummins or Nissan, there's still a lot of speculation about that.
Right.
That we think that Cummins and Nissan just parted ways. They said, we don't want to do this anymore.
Right. Well, everything I've been told from people in Indiana and down here is that Cummins just decided they'd had enough of it. If you look at the numbers, the past few months, they've only sold 2,500 roughly Titans in general. And Nissan doesn't break those numbers down into XDs, but I was able to find out that it's 8-1. So 8-1 guys that half tons versus the XDs. And even at that, you break that down at 2,500. I think it was roughly 312 XDs a month they're selling. And then it's about 50-50 XD gas to diesel. Like Cummins can't.
Yeah, you break it down. That's Cummins, 150 motors.
Yeah.
Right.
They can't keep a line going for 150 motors. So the writing was on the wall. I know it's a fun platform, and it's an okay motor. I know Holden would disagree with us on this, but I put it on our Facebook page the other day. 2013, Danny's when they announced that motor was going to be in the truck. So they didn't release the truck till 16. So at 3 years, it was already past kind of its prime. So then by the time they release it in the XD, you've got the little 3 liters from Ram popping in.
You have the Chevy diesel, the small Chevy diesel, the small Ram and the new Ram diesel. It's all new. The new 3 liter is all new, coming this year. They haven't released final numbers on it. The Chevy just dropped out their small Duramax. Ford has their small diesel motor that's come out. So as of right now, and that's kind of what's been plaguing Nissan. They're 7 years out of date on everything that they're doing, Right.
Well, I started looking into this, and I want your feedback on this, and then hear me out. So we've discussed this to beat a dead horse, but 2009 Nissan Ram entered a partnership where they were going to build the Titan for Nissan. It was going to be built, it'd still be partly designed by Nissan, but sorry, I got a text message from a reporter there. Anyways, so they made a partnership, going to build it. The economy collapsed. Nissan had to pull out. They're scrambling to build a vehicle. When you do that, all of a sudden, like Nissan's truck line is always a mess anyways. They only knew the hard body, the little Frontier, and they're getting into a market they didn't know. So they go out after the truck's been designed, they go out and get Fred Diaz, who was kind of running the ship for Ram. Fred comes in. Oh, this isn't going to work for the American buyer, which was probably right. I'm not going to say he was wrong about it, but then that puts the truck in another year or two delay. And by the time they get that truck finalized, it's out of date. And don't get me wrong, I love my half-ton Titan. It's a great truck. The motor, the V8 is amazing. But when you're playing in a market, you're a niche full size. Then you're going after the most niche like market of an XD, an extra duty truck. And the writing was on the wall when they released that vehicle. And I know it sounds like I'm crapping on this, but I'm not. I think the XD is a great platform, but when you had Ram a few years ago come out with that 3-liter, now they've got a brand new one. You've got GM entering the little 3-liter or the little small V8 or small V6 diesel. And now Ford's got
V6
something.
diesel is kind of that's the thing.
And the mileage on it, let me finish this up, Dan.
Yeah.
But the mileage on it is no better than the 3-liters. The 3-liters actually are getting like 28 to 30 miles per gallon. And the XD, the V8 couldn't do that. And so it was just so confusing. The writing was on the wall, in my opinion.
Right, and I agree, Dave. And couple that with Ram's over the top, maybe not over the top, their amazing new interior design that they rolled out with their new trucks to really kind of battle the Ford Chevy dominant position. I think to really like stake their claim in the top three. I think that definitely didn't help anything as well. So, one, you have Nissan a little bit behind the curve with what they're coming out with. The market seeing these smaller diesels in those half tons, and then the interiors just offering more bang for the buck.
Right.
And especially this last year, this year especially, Dodge is outselling Chevy.
Mm-hmm.
In that segment, whether it's the new 3-liter is supposed to be getting 24 to 25 mpgs, in that range is what they're shooting for. But on top of it, it's in a market where those trucks are refreshed every, what is it?
Maybe
3
2 years. Well, with Ford, it's almost every 2 years they're refreshing the thing.
Yeah. Let's say on an average 3 years, Nissan, coming out behind the curve and now trying to play catch up because they're going to be coming out with a refresh version, 2020 refresh on it.
Yep.
It's not, and it's going to be a facelift. It's not going to be a full refresh. They're not offering any. They're taking away a power plant. They're still going to offer the 5.6. They're going to be giving us some better looking headlights, a little bit better fascia, some more infotainment centers, if you want to call it that. So you'll get up to par with what's on the market right now, but that still, in my opinion, almost puts them behind. It just gets them close to.
Yeah, by 2021,
and I just don't know if that's going to be enough.
Well, by 2021, F-150s already outdid it, and it's not. Yeah. It's and all you guys that think that Nissan didn't advertise enough, they didn't do this and this. I will say it for 1,000,000 times, man. Nissan's whole budget is not what GM or Ford's truck budget is for advertising. Like their whole car budget, like they operate on a very thin profit, like in their margins for this. So their margin of error is like they cannot make mistakes. And then obviously I feel like this XD was a mistake from the get go, even though I know behind it and it's a good truck. But all these little mistakes keep snowballing into that. And then, like you were saying about the entertainment center, it doesn't bother me that it's a little 7-inch screen because I don't need my iPad or I don't need a 30-inch monitor in my truck to drive down the road. But some people do want that stuff. And so, 16, it was probably all right. But at 16, that's when everybody started putting these little, Tesla's pushing with their little computer monitor in there. And so they start bringing it in every car. And, Nissan was just, if you're not selling the vehicle, it's hard to put money in to keep, doing refreshes on it.
Absolutely. It's hard to justify doing that when sales numbers were not, I'm sure the sales numbers were not where they wanted them to be. And then with the most recent leadership problems, it's, they're kind of just in this terrible spiral that they're trying to get out of, and they really need to get out of it. And they need some kind of, whether it's a flagship or something to stick and really take off a little bit better. I think they need that more now than they ever have in the last 10, 15 years.
Well,
I just don't know if I don't think the Titan's going to do it. I think they may bump some sales with the new fascia and stuff like that if they get some good price points, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't think the Titan's going to be that vehicle for them.
No, and the worst thing is that the Titan's on its make or break, and I've been told this by several people within the company that it's make or break right now with the Titan. I mean, you can't, it's $1 billion to develop a vehicle, and you can't sit there and at especially 2,500 sales a month or whatever, you're not going to break even that way. And I think the thing that made the Gen 1 very unique, and it was a cool looking, it was its own thing. Like if you compare a Gen 1, a 2004 Titan to anything in 2004 in the same market, it just looked alien. It's different. And people like that about Nissan. That's why I was drawn to the Xterra. It was just completely different. But then once they brought Diaz in and they start making it look a little Ford, a little Ram, like it got a little too close to that. And so I think really they need to go back and just be Nissan. Do what you do. If you want to design a cool looking truck and that's what it is, that's what it is. Look at Toyota. The Tundra doesn't look like anything else. I mean, it's a big wallopy truck, but it's got its own unique Toyota look to it. And I think that's where Nissan sort of misses.
Yeah, I agree. I fully agree on that.
But Danny,
I don't have much more to say about it.
Well, the big news is when it came out a couple years ago. Me and you seen the single cab when it came out and was like, God, that's an ugly truck. Gone.
Oh yeah, I'm so glad that thing's gone. I mean, it was, and Walter Cheney will be a little upset about that, but it just didn't look like a complete truck.
Well, Walter's upset with me anyways because we've had some good debates about the XD platform in general, and Walter's a big fanboy, and I guess there was some potential truck poll. He could have been in a commercial or something. I don't know, but guys, and for all the fanboys out there for the diesel, that truck. I've heard all these debates. It's a 2500. If they would just do this, it's a 2500. Guys, it's not a 2500 because Nissan didn't say it was a 2500. Yeah, the transmission is capable of it. Pretty much the rear leaf springs, the rear end of it, yeah, it's capable of it. But when Nissan stamps this as a kind of 5/8 ton truck, that's what it is. And so for all my fanboys out there yelling, "Oh man, it's capable of doing what Dodge is doing or Ram is doing," and just let us have it. It's just not there, man. So, anyways, the single cab is dead. The diesel's dead. Who did it? Who knows? Who cares? Because it's gone, and they're back to selling just V8, wicked V8 trucks. And Danny, as we wrap this up, you drove both of them when we did the Titan Adventure, and you initially were a diesel guy, right?
Right, I was leaning towards that a little bit just because I know I'm going to be towing race trucks and possibly a little RV trailer and stuff like that. So I was leaning towards it, but just from a drivability day-to-day standpoint, the gas was where it was at.
Right.
So.
And maintenance on that thing, man. Maintenance on a diesel.
Maintenance on diesel's rough. I know down here in SoCal, gas prices are much higher for diesel. Which is stupid. It's way stupid, but at the same time, you pay a little bit more for gas. But
speaking of paying for it, man,
I'm not too upset about it. We'll see how that new 2020 comes out looking.
Yeah.
From everything that we've seen on our little secret spy shots that we've got and our connections, it looks like it'll be a nice little refresh on some of the stuff. So we'll see how that looks.
Well, and rumor has it 9-inch screen, going to be best in class screen, guys. So for all you people out there,
and that's for even for the base model, right? So
right. So anyways,
on that note, Dave, I was really wishing that I had a full size this last weekend when I was racing.
Well, I was going to get to that, man.
I took the whole family out racing.
Oh, the whole family went.
Well, it was me, my wife, and then my two girls. So my little boy didn't go because he's still too young to be in such a kind of like a dynamic environment, I'll call it.
Well, let's really break this down. So, Danny, I hinted to it a little bit ago. Danny did some racing, and I had posted it on just out of the excitement because I get excited because I know my buddy Danny over there is just a race nut and was getting excited. So the hype was real here in Middle Tennessee. I was like, man, I'm getting on the racetracks and I'm following everything that I can, and I'm sharing it to you guys. And then somebody comes in and shits on it real quick and goes, well, he's in a Toyota. And it was like, well, yeah, well, he was in an Xterra for how many times it couldn't get past 70 miles. So maybe he wants some racing experience past stage 1. And I only poke at that, guys, but like any chance you can get, like as a racer, you don't care what really the brand is. You need experience.
No, experience. And I'll tell you what, dude, racing to the very end was this was the most experience I've got out of any race.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I've pit crewed quite a few times, and I rode in the one truck a couple times, the Xterra a couple times, and this truck was a whole new experience from start to finish. It opened my eyes. It caused me to rethink my build on just small stuff. But it was, I think, I didn't even drive the truck, but co-driving, I learned so much about co-driving, about course mapping, about just, the more you do it, the more you immerse yourself in something, the more you're going to learn just what goes into racing and what you need and what does work, what doesn't work. And so, that's why he's in the same class. The truck we raced, it's a Toyota, Toyota Tacoma with a 4-liter Toyota motor in it. And it's very similar to what my truck's going to be. So I've been talking to this guy about what he's running and stuff like that, and that's how I met him. So the race team that I raced with is Adrenaline Motorsports out of Oregon. A guy named Todd Walters is the driver, and he built the truck from the ground up himself. So I've been using him as kind of a sounding board for ideas for my truck, etc. And that's kind of where it came from. I pit crewed for him at the Mint 400 in March, and then from there we kind of started, a really good relationship after that. And he asked me if I wanted to co-drive, and of course I lost my mind. I was like, absolutely, whatever it takes, And unfortunately, it took a lot more than I thought it was going to take. But my wife and girls came out with me, and we did the racing. We did the racing thing.
Well, it looked like a lot of fun, man. And like I said, it got to be where it was late. And of course, we're on the East Coast too, so you're 3 hours behind us. So I wake up in the morning going, "Oh man, I'm gonna look on that tracker," and then nothing's showing up, and I was like, "What's going on?" And then, like I got to see videos that they were posting and of the driver switches and stuff, and I got to see you fuel up the truck once. That was really cool. And so for everybody kind of giving us crap for posting, I know it was a Toyota vehicle, but as a racer, man, you need seat time, and it doesn't matter what brands is on that vehicle. You're going to learn. And Danny, I know you went into thinking, like, wanting to do your own race thing and thinking, oh, I kind of have a good idea. But once you start, even if you're on the other side of the seat, man, there's so many things that you didn't know to expect, or how to, even pitting, when you're learning how to pit these trucks, man, you have to teach people, your team, you're going to have to teach a lot of this. So it really behoves you to have this experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd say anybody that really wants to race is just do whatever you can to show up to a race and help anywhere you can, because you can always get anybody that shows up is going to get a job. And it's something that you learn just by watching. Sometimes you could just be in there in the pit throwing somebody a water bottle, and you're going to learn a million things because you're just right there listening to everybody and seeing what it takes to get a truck around a race course, really. And especially if you show up early and you see all the planning going in and say, okay, we're gonna gas up here, and I need you to do this, and there's all these rules that you have to follow as well. Whether it's a race suit that you have to wear for gassing up, and so on this race, we're talking about the Vegas to Reno, which is a 500+ mile race that starts in Vegas, ends in Reno. We left the starting line at 12 o'clock noon time Friday, and we didn't get in until 1 o'clock Saturday morning a.m. So we raced and finished in 13 and a half hours. I started the race with Todd, and was in the truck for, I don't know, 150 miles, somewhere around there. And then I got out of the truck, and we basically had two teams of drivers, co-drivers kind of. And then I got out at mile marker 125 or so. Another co-driver got in. They raced for a couple hundred miles, and then I got back in the truck at mile marker, I don't know, 300 or something like that. We made it to mile marker 425, somewhere around there. And then Todd, the owner, got back in, and he drove the rest of the way. So we kind of just jumped back and forth between drivers and co-drivers because it's exhausting.
Right.
Well, it really is.
and that's another thing. Like, you think you're in shape and I can survive this. And then you get a true experience of the beating, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you're sitting and to start out with, as well, as Vegas was 110 degrees.
Yeah.
And we start from Beatty, which is about, I don't know, an hour and a half outside of Vegas. And we were going, and you know what killed me, Dave, is 70 miles in, we started getting vapor lock issues with the gas.
Right.
The gas was so hot, and so we started cutting out, and I'm sitting there at like 70 miles, like, really? Literally, we pulled over and stopped. And here's a fun fact for everybody. I went to pee in my catheter when we stopped, because you wear a race catheter. It's kind of like a condom with a tube on it, right? That goes down your leg and out the bottom of your foot. I went to go pee out of that, and that popped off, and I peed on myself. But I was so happy because it got so cool after, like, so I tried to pee out of that, and it popped off, right? So I had a pee failure. But then the truck started up again, and I was like, whatever, dude, we're going again. I was so stoked. I'm like, whatever, I peed on myself, and I don't care. So we get the truck started, and we were going up a hill at that point. We were 70 miles in, and we had just kind of turned this corner, and we were going up this really steep hill, and the truck just started bah, 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 and would barely run. So we pulled over, we checked our fuel pressure, fuel pumps, and everything, and we had passed like 4 or 5 cars at this point. We were smoking them, like, we were just really, like, big V8 Jeeps and stuff like that, like amazing trucks. We had passed, and we swung by on this truck. And the AMR truck that we were racing, AMR is the Adrenaline Motorsports. That truck is amazing. That Tacoma is a really, really well-built truck. So we fly by all these guys, and then we start breaking down right at the foot of this hill. So we pull over and check everything, and things cool down a little bit, and we see all these trucks fly by us. I do the P thing, and then we're like, you know what? I think it's just vapor locking. Let's get back in. I think it's cooled down a little bit. Get back in the truck, start it up. It's running good. So we go flying up this hill, and it turns into like this really tight. It's kind of like a fire road a little bit. Tight switchbacks. All 4 of those other trucks overheated as well, going up that same hill. We were just like the first one. So we were passing all these trucks and it was sketchy too, because there's like sheer drop on the left, mountain on the right, kind of switchbacks. And then we get to the top, and then we drive down the other side, which is the same. And then there's 2 trucks on their sides coming down the other side.
Wow.
So we're like, this is a dead zone, dude.
Yeah.
Like, this is killing everybody. So at first we were all bummed because we were losing all this time. The truck wasn't running. We were sketching out that this was going to be a problem for the rest of the day. Could this end the race? Right. And then all of a sudden and part of that was, we were flying, we were driving pretty hard, and the, engine temps, trans temps, they're just climbing and climbing. And when you're behind somebody, you're not getting clean air. So your engine temps aren't quite as, they're not as low as they need to be. So all these factors were going in, and that's all co-driver job to keep an eye on those. And, I'm constantly telling them where to go and keeping an eye on that and stuff. So that first part of the race was a little bit stressful in that manner, because, you don't want to overheat and break something. But at the same time, you can't, if you pass somebody, you don't want to slow down after that and try and keep it real nice and slow. Right. Because you don't want to be in that dust. And so we were kind of on the tip of that spear, the knife edge, stay fast enough to stay in front of the other people, but stay slow enough to not burn your car out in the first, 100 miles. So that's kind of what we were dealing with. And eventually we got it to a point to where, as you go north, the temps drop down into the 90s. Yeah, and the crazy thing about pissing yourself while you're in a race truck is by the time we got to the next pit, I was dry as a bone,
yeah.
you know, and it's hot out there, and you're flying through, you know, dust and dirt and stuff like that. It's wild. It's just a wild experience altogether.
Right. Well, after you kind of the first, because you were the first in the truck, right? So
the first run was fair, other than that stop and then, you know, passing people and getting, it was fairly eventful. Todd's an amazing driver as well, and getting to watch and learn him drive. I think this time I spent a little bit less time noticing the driving and the driving style, and a little bit more time really concentrating on calling out turns, etc.
Right.
But at the same time, you know, every once in a while you get caught and just like, wow, that was an amazing corner he just blasted through. You know,
yeah.
I'd call it a corner and I'd be like, dude, I just called it a hard corner, and he just goes burning through it. You know, because he knows the truck, and he knows even in this kind of a hard corner, you know, maybe he sees a good berm in it, and he just stuffs it around. And so, you know, there was those times where I'm like, oh wow, sweet. And then, you know, go ahead.
No,
okay.
No, finish up.
I was gonna say we were on this really fast section, and it was just big roller kind of, you know, we'd go over the hill and just kind of catch a little air, go over a hill, catch a little air, these big rollers, and it's just straight as an arrow. And we were coming over one and realized that the next hill was way closer than every other one. And we thought for sure we were going to case the next jump, and we both just yelled out, "Oh shit." Luckily we came up just a little bit short and kind of dropped down into the U between the two. But when we came over that, it looked like we were going to be casing, you know, like, because you can't hit the brakes like right as you're going over, you know, like,
and you're not on pavement,
committed,
and you're not on pavement, so it's not going to stop you really.
Yeah. So he was just like, I mean, we both just like puckered, but we landed, and it was just butter, and he'd go flying over the next. He's like, wow, I didn't expect that to happen, you know.
Well, so as you kind of got out of the truck, so how long do you think you were in the truck for the first run?
Oh shoot, a couple hours is my guess.
Okay, and you entered pretty much the heat of the day. So when you got out of that truck, were you just like, holy cow, that is hot? Because that motor is cooking, man, and it's not like there's no AC in that car to just cool you down.
You know what was crazy is my feet. So and I ordered him to put a foot bar in across the footwell, because my feet were baking, like just scorched, because they were sitting on the firewall right there, basically the footwell panel, and there's nothing there other than that thin sheet and the end of his headers. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I actually had blisters on my feet after getting in the second time and getting out again. I had like two big old blisters on my feet because my feet were just like, I couldn't put my feet flat. I kept having to move them around. Right. Just so hot. That was like one thing that actually, it wasn't taking my minds off things, but it was definitely one thing that like stuck with me. Like, holy shit, my feet are so freaking hot. As far as like being hot in the car, you don't really have time to think about it, because your eyes are glued in between looking straight at the nav screen in front of you and glancing up to see if what you're calling out jives with what's on your nav screen. And the night before, we had gone through and we had marked all these different hazards that they give you and stuff like that. And some of the hazards are legit, and some of the hazards are more marked for either motorcycles or trophy trucks. So you kind of have to look and see what's coming, and you're calling out these hazards and say, okay, that hazard isn't nearly what they're portraying it to be. You know, if it's a drop off, maybe it's a drop off, but you know, they say big rocks on left, and you say, well, yeah, I can see those big rocks on left that they're calling out, but are they a hazard for me, or were they a hazard for a trophy truck coming through here at 110 miles an hour?
Well, that and there, you know, like you were saying, there's all kinds of classes. It's not like there's two classes and that's who's racing it. And then all that stuff gets covered with silt and all the stuff everybody's throwing around. But so you get out, and I'm assuming the next run was probably 2 hours, so you kind of get a little bit of a break, and you're rushing to get to the next checkpoint.
Yeah, I was basically hopped in in my truck, and my wife was driving. You know, my two little kids are behind me, and in truth, like, I got out of the truck, and you know, we didn't have a huge pit crew. It's just a couple families and a couple volunteers, and you can only fuel the truck with a fire suit and either a helmet or a head sock on. And since the drivers and passengers we're usually the guys that fuel it when we're not in there, I got out of the truck and immediately I ran over and I grabbed a 20 gallons of fuel, throw it up on my shoulder.
Yeah.
And me and Todd, who had just been in the truck racing, we go and we fuel the truck. And so, you're not done until that truck drives away.
Right. Well,
so once he drove away, then it was like we both, gave a high five, and then it was like, grab a Gatorade and then just rehydrate, because you're pretty chapped up and a little bit exhausted. Your neck's super sore. You're kind of in a daze a little bit when you get out of that truck.
Yeah, you just went through battle, man. Definitely. And some of, I know for me it would be like stressful of just like not driving, not being in control, and
that feeling, Dave, in truth, that feeling only happens for one turn, maybe two turns, to tell you the truth. I think if you were to be in the passenger seat in that scenario, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think in that scenario, you go through one or two turns and you say, okay, you know what? I trust this guy on my left isn't going to kill me. And maybe if it's a guy that just doesn't know how to drive, and the whole time you're like, he's just out of control. There's a big difference between you see a guy take a turn, you see a guy flying through something, you're like, okay, this guy knows how to drive. I trust him right now.
Right.
And now part of my job is making sure that he has all the information to where he can keep driving in this controlled manner.
Well,
so that's where you transition your head from scared to, I need to do my best to make sure that he does his best,
Right. Well, so after, because this is the first time you've completed a race, right?
Yeah.
So is there stuff that you kind of thought, okay, or you might have seen on Dave Blakely's truck that you were like, okay, I need to model it after Dave's truck a little bit. Obviously, I know this guy that you were with, like, they break this thing down after a race. Like, it's just completely torn down and completely rebuilt. Is there stuff that makes you on your truck now, kind of on your Xterra, go, whoa, maybe I need to second guess this and change this?
Absolutely. Trans cooling has taken a new forefront for my build. Not a forefront, but it's a new plan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be running a much, much larger trans cooler just after seeing those temps that he's running. And I have to pay a little bit more attention to what that trans temp's going to be, as well as the helmet pumpers. I'm going to have to run larger dual helmet pumpers. I was thinking I was going to be able to get away with one.
Well, what is that
air
exactly?
Pump that it pumps air through the helmets, which is a lifesaver.
Right.
Because if you didn't have any airflow through those, that would be rough.
Well, and some of that goes into a cooler, right? So it tries to blow some ice air through
it's just straight up. It's just filtered air.
Oh, okay.
It's just an air pump basically that blows through a hose into your helmet.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, those things get clogged up as well. I'm sure there's other things. Those are my two big takeaways. I can't think of anything offhand. Besides those two, I know that there's a lot of little things. Fuel pump placement. I can't think of anything else right now. I know we've talked about things between him and me.
Mm-hmm.
What trans I'm going to run. If I eventually change, because he put in Turbo 400 trans. That was a manual valve body trans, as opposed to an electric trans. There's so many things that I can do.
Well, and at some point you're going to have to get your vehicle out there and just break something, and then once you break it,
I gotta go out and do some testing and working on that, which, I'm going to do. So, before we kind of close out of here, I kind of wanted to tell the one story. So when I got back in the truck, and this time, I was in the truck with a guy named Dan. Go figure, Dan flying around. And, I got in the truck at about 9:00 at night, I want to say. Or no, I'm sorry. Yeah, about 9:00 at night. And this was the leg where we couldn't pit stop, or they weren't going to meet us for pit stops for two pits, because the way that the race course and the highway go basically almost opposite directions in kind of big loops opposite each other. So we got in the truck and we were like, and they basically, and this is near the end, they basically said, good luck. There's not going to be pit stops for the next 145 miles, 200 miles, somewhere on there. We'll see you at the next pit, you know?
Right.
So, you know, we're kind of like, here we go. You know, if we break, we are stuck for a long time.
Right.
So we go flying out into the desert. Light has just gone down. It's still 90 degrees out. Light has just gone down. We're flying through, and Dan had just got back into the truck. He's not quite as familiar as Todd is. He didn't quite get in the truck and get comfortable in the truck until maybe 20 or 30 miles in at least. You can feel that. You can definitely feel that between Todd gets in the truck and he seemed like he was comfortable the second he stepped on the gas. Dan, it took, you know, he's just not as familiar with the truck. So it took him a little while to get familiar with the truck. But so we raced a while. Then we came up around this big corner in this hill, and there was a truck literally stuck in the middle of the hill and a guy there pointing off the side of the hill. So we drove off the side of the hill. I'm talking like a 10-foot drop.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't like straight down, but it was like more than 45 degrees. And so we drove down to this little valley, and then we get stuck in this little valley, and we're mother effing this guy who just pushed us straight off the race course into this little valley. So we have to back up and go forward 3 or 4 times, finally get back on the course. And then there's kind of like down a hill, up a hill situation. And we came at that at a pretty slow speed. So we go down this little hill and try and get up the other side. And we didn't have enough juice because the bottom of the hill had this huge silt bed. So when we passed through the silt bed, we lost all this power, tried to get up the other side, totally died. So we back down and we get stuck in the silt bed. And I'm like, oh no, you know, we're freaking stuck out here. So I get out, you know, I'm helmet and fire suit. I get out and I start digging it out and I pull the max tracks out. I start digging it out. The whole rear diff is like 3/4 of the way under silt, you know, and I'm looking at this trying to get these max tracks under, and I'm like, this is going to take a lot more work. You know, I tried, I gave it a couple, like, okay, let's see if this works. But it was just so, like, the tires were almost spinning on their own kind of a deal, you know? So I told the driver, I'm like, we're going to need to really do some serious work here. Meanwhile, you know, it's dark. We have these trucks, there's a couple cars and trucks dropping down right next to us and flying by us. So you got to keep an eye out for that. So you get the jacks out, jack up one side, we dig holes so the jacks can fit underneath the axle. So we can jack the axle up, finally get the max tracks underneath it on one side, and then the same thing on the other side. So at this point, we're just both sweating our brains out. Like, I felt like my whole fire suit was just full of like dripping sweat. We finally get it out, and we back over the max tracks and get back a little ways, but we didn't get back far enough to get unstuck. So so he stays in the truck. I had to do it all over again, where I dig it out, put the max tracks under. Finally, we get everything back in, put it all in. He looks at me, he's like, sorry, man. You know? I'm like, it's okay, just don't get stuck anymore, because I don't know how many of those I got.
Right.
So exhausted, but at the same time, we charge up the hill, and we had backed over on the side where the silt bed was. We charge up the hill, get over that, and from there on out, it was just, we were just bombing just rhythm sections. And the first part was rough. It was really rough. We were consistently just like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Oh my gosh, this is terrible. It was a rough section.
Right. Well,
and, it was exhausting, but from there on out, it was like butter, and we killed it from there out.
Well, I could tell you were exhausted. I don't know if it might have been because you had 2 tours in that, right?
Yeah.
So there was one I seen a video of them trying to it took you a minute to get out of the truck. Like you could see you sitting there and the door was open.
It was probably the second one, dude. I was pretty booked on that one.
Yeah, you could just see. I could see it in your body language. Knowing you as well as I do anymore, you could just see in your body language of it was like, oh
yeah,
man.
Well, it was probably 11 o'clock at night. I had been up since 6 that morning too, you know, and concentrate. It was the weirdest thing I ever experienced. you'd come, and we had this long street, and they were kind of like big hills up and down, and you'd kind of slow down a little bit because you couldn't see anything on the other side. You're flying by your lights, and your lights are just reflecting off this just kind of leftover dust. And you'd come flying over this hill, and all you could see is your lights reflecting off dust and blackness everywhere, especially on the steeper hills. And you come down that, and while you're looking at this blackness, you lose like spatial awareness for a minute,
mm-hmm.
and then you all of a sudden drop down. And I remember like 3 or 4 times coming up in that area and seeing that, and my mind was like slowing, and I couldn't reconcile that spatial awareness
right
until like a couple seconds after we were back driving again. It was like I was losing a little bit of like awareness in those moments, and I was like, what just happened back there? Like I couldn't remember it. Like if you drive a long way, or if you drive home from somewhere and you're really tired and you get home, you're like, I don't remember that drive very well. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's kind of how it felt like every like 10 minutes when we would go over there. So it was just super wild, and yeah, exhausting, but some of the best experiences I've ever had in my life is just sitting in that. I remember looking over at Todd in the first section, and we were going over this brilliant, just beautiful kind of swoopy left and right, going over some bumps, just screaming. We were probably doing 70 miles an hour, 80 miles an hour. And I just like, I said in the intercom, I'm like, this is what it's all about, bro. It's like, hell yeah. It was just one of those moments where like when life is the YouTube video you watch because that's what you want to do.
Right.
All of a sudden you're in the YouTube video you were watching, 2 weeks ago because you were so excited. And I was just, all of a sudden I just realized, I'm like, this is what I want to do. Like, this is where I want to be, this is where I've always wanted to be. And now I'm here experiencing it. It was like surreal, but at the same time, I was so immersed, and I was so just happy that I was in that spot. And so a huge thanks to Todd for letting me be part of the team and letting me run that and get some of that experience and just fill that dream up, Dream juice, dude.
That's tonight's episode. We gotta recall it Dream
Juice. Danny recounts his dream juice moments.
Oh man. Well, speaking of dreams, man, our interview tonight is he's a guy that he dreams big, man, and they always seem to, when they have ideas, they always seem to put it together. And we've had them on the show before. They've sent us out to cover their events before, and so let's get to Rogue Overland, and not just Rogue Overland. It's Nick Savacci of Rogue Overland, and I think Nick just finished up. He was talking to us as he was in his office because he just finished up straightening up somebody's back, man. So we'll straighten out this interview and get to it with Nick Savacci on the Nissan Nation podcast. All right, today, wherever you are, treadmill, I don't know where you're going, but we've got some Rogue characters involved here. Besides Danny and Holden, we have Mr. Nick there of Rogue Overland. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, not too much. How have you guys been?
Well, we're hanging in there. It's been a while. We haven't done much here lately. We've all been on a summer break. So how is your summer going, man? Full of adventure, I hope.
Yeah, summer's been good. We had some exciting things happen. We actually were invited on the 4-Wheel Magazine Overland Adventure. So every year we go into SEMA. Not SEMA. Every year we go into Expo West up in Flagstaff, and this year we were brought in by Bubba Rope and joined this multi-day overland trip with 4-Wheel Magazine, and went all through Arizona and ended up arriving at SEMA for the SEMA. Overland Expo West for the Overland Expo West event. Sorry, I have SEMA on my mind because that's the next one coming up. And yeah, it was really fantastic. Wide array of vehicles that were with us. It was pretty cool. About 30 rigs, so it was fun. Yeah,
I watched some of that on YouTube, man. It was really interesting. So for those that might be new to, it's been a couple of years, I think, since we've had you guys on. So Kind of give us a little bit of the Rogue Overland background before we really hit you with those tough, hard questions.
Yeah. So the gist of it is, it just started off because locally we were leading a lot of trails locally and organizing things. And this was years ago when the forums were a lot more active and Facebook and Instagram hadn't really taken over yet. Mm-hmm. And we were doing so much with it that we just said, hey, we enjoy doing it. So why don't we kind of turn this into something where we can give back to the community, make it a little more official. And from there, we just came up with Rogue Overland. And so we get out and we lead some trips. We do product reviews online. We work with some companies as far as giving them feedback on products they're developing. And yeah, it's just been a really, really good adventure so far.
Well, I think the last time that we'd seen you was your 17 summer adventure. Me and Danny went out there to cover that and had a blast. And it seems like after that, you guys have really taken off because I just see you guys everywhere, man. Whether it's you guys hanging with CVT tents or taking that Toyota out or whatever, you guys are just all over the map.
Yeah, I think what happened was it wasn't really us. We had these guys with us on that trip to Colorado, these Nissan Nation guys, and it just catapulted our career.
That's what I was going to mention. I mean, we really put the word out.
Yeah.
And I mean, we don't want to necessarily take credit, but instead of credit, we'll take checks. So just cold hard cash in the mail.
There you go. Well, there's a shoebox that might be under your front porch. The second step, just remove the board, and it should be.
I'll keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
Well, so you guys obviously you're on the web at rogueoverland.com, but kind of YouTube's the mainstay thing for whatever you guys do, right? So all your adventures and stuff, you film them, you do a nice kind of little documentary on each trip, right?
Yeah, so we have the YouTube channel. We have the webpage, and we have Instagram and Facebook, and there's content that's released regularly on those. And then, the YouTube channel is basically the main platform for getting the information out. So any major trip that we go on, we'll produce an adventure video is what we call it. And it's more of just a entertainment source. People can watch it. It's kind of like a short movie. And it just tells the story of the adventure. And then also on YouTube, we release rig walkarounds and reviews of products. So that's more where we're trying to get information out. Say you're trying to build out your Xterra or whatever, you can look at the builds that we've featured and get some ideas. Or maybe you're looking for a table for camping or something. You can watch some of our reviews and see like, hey, does that table work well for me? Or do I like this one?
Right.
So we get that info out to help people out.
Well, and through all this, like you were saying earlier, you have partnerships with companies, but what was it, Bubba Rope that you guys do a lot with, and kind of do some honest reviews with the equipment that you get. I don't feel like I know you work with these companies, but they seem to be pretty honest reviews you're doing.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing we always tell them. I mean, some of the reviews are products that we just use on our own, and we don't work with the company. And some of the products are companies that we've worked with, and they've asked us to do a review, and it's always an honest review. That's the thing that we say is like, hey, we'll help get the information out, but that's what it is. We're trying to get people information so they can make an educated decision.
Right. So
what did we like about the product? What didn't we like about the product? And then you take that info and decide if it's good for you or not. Well,
your latest review was, it seemed to be, that had to be a tough one that I watched, was about the table that mounts to the tire. It's like, how that had to be like a nightmare how do you come up with ideas about, well, it's a table and it mounts to a tire.
Yeah. Tailgater tire table. It's a really neat product, but yeah, you get some of this stuff and you're looking at it, and exactly like you're saying, okay, we're trying to give people info so they can decide if their money is well spent here. But yeah, it's a table. Like, for example, we have one in the pipeline right now, darn tough socks from Vermont, and they're fantastic. They're made in America socks. They're great, but it's a,
Yeah, you're like, here it goes onto the foot.
Yeah.
Watch as my foot slides so quickly into the sock.
Do you do slow motion?
woolly.
Slow motion of pulling the sock up for like 3 minutes?
Yeah. I mean, and you know, we've used them. I mean, we hiked with them to the top of Mount Whitney. We've had them on Rubicon Trail. We've had them in Moab. I mean, we've used them, but that's about it. Is, hey, we've used the heck out of them. They're a fantastic sock. They're made in America. You know, there you go.
You can walk in it. You can stand in it.
Right.
You can sit in it.
Exactly.
Just the most amazing. Amazing. Socks feel like they're making slow love to a small sheep.
Maybe socks like that give you the luck of the Irish or something.
Listen, Nick. Next time if you need to make anything for anything, and you just need a couple of extra ideas, I'm an idea guy, man. All right, you just shoot me a text and be like, hey, I got a sock. I need an idea for like 3 or 4 more shots. I got you covered, dude.
All right.
I'm all kind of innuendo shots. I got you, bro. I got you.
I'm gonna have to do that because one of the early ones we did was for Mechanics Gloves, and Alex and I were sitting out there filming it, and that's one of the things about our reviews. We always try to do outdoors, kind of keep that outdoor feel, and we're just sitting there and we're like, what else can we shoot? And it's like, I don't know. You put the glove on, move some stuff,
do some things.
I don't know. That's about it.
Well, yeah, with the sock thing, I mean, you could get really deep into it because I can come up with a couple ideas for socks that I haven't used in a while. But as a young teenager,
I imagine depending on who you are,
there's all different kinds of things.
There's always that cleanup sock that you could do, right?
But to take it back into the more appropriate realm, if you were on a rogue overland adventure by yourself on a deserted island, what kind of animal would you bring with you? And it can't be a dog or a cat. People want to know these things.
Yeah. So I'm on an overland adventure, deserted island. What animal?
Seems like a car jeep kind of question.
I'm gonna go with monkey. I'm gonna go with monkey because one, for hopefully they can climb up and give me some business, and two, I've seen the YouTube video, like monkey flinging poo might be entertaining.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like a helper monkey kind of a thing. Like, hey, go get me those bananas out of that tree.
Yeah,
that's a smart choice. It's a smart choice. I'm not gonna lie. I'm more of a female lion kind of a guy, but I appreciate your monkey.
My monkey
enjoyments, your monkey business. So with that information out of the way, what's coming up kind of on the agenda? What are you guys looking at coming up here in the next couple months?
Yep.
What are you up to?
So next couple of months, we have to cancel the summer expedition this, or actually not cancel it, but not have the summer expedition this year because we had initially been lined up with a company to do a trip for content creation, and all the snowpack got it blocked off. Prevented the trip from happening because it was going to be in Colorado. So what we have on the map right now is we're doing the American Adventurous Mountain Rendezvous in September.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a fun one. We get out and kind of get to hang out with some of our friends from down in SoCal, Trail Recon, Overland X.
Is that up in Big Bear?
That's in Big Bear. Yep.
Okay.
And then we always see a lot of the SoCal Xterra Club makes it out to that, so we get to catch up with them, which is nice. And then the next one coming up after that, I'm excited about is Canvas is in October. And for anybody not familiar with Canvas, it started in Arizona, but the trip basically the event rotates between Arizona, Nevada, and California every year. So hence Canvas, right? CANVAZ. And then each kind of, there's usually a core group of people from each state that run it when it's in that state. So this year it's back in Nevada, and I've been lucky enough to be involved with organizing it every year. It's been in Nevada. Nick Schulte and I ran it the first year, and Andrew and I ran it the second year it was here. And so, yeah, this particular year I'm teaming up with Silver State Nissan's group, and they're going to we're going to get it organized and get it done. It's going to be fun. It's going to be outside of Las Vegas, Nevada, in a town called Logandale, and we actually are reserving the fairgrounds, and that's where base camp is going to be, actually camped at the Clark County Fairgrounds.
And then, do you guys go and run trails during the days? Is it kind of is it more of a free for all, or is there kind of trail runs that go on, or how does it? And I'm guessing it's a weekend, correct? Like a long weekend.
Yep, it's a Friday to a Sunday. Most people roll in Friday night, and then yeah. So we'll run a trail, easier trail and then harder trail group. So basically 2 trail groups, one on Saturday, and then most likely one early in the morning Sunday, and then people can disperse from there.
Right, and then you just kind of do some bonfires in the evening, kind of a deal, or And aside from that, how hot's it going to be? Because I was literally just in Vegas last weekend, and it was 110. So how's the weather looking for this trip?
So Logandale is similar to Vegas, pretty much the same temperatures. The nice thing about out there is it's a little bit further out from all the concrete, so it cools off at night. But the end of October, that's why we're running it so late in October, the 25th through the 27th. Typically around that time is when we see the temperatures dump. So it should be, even if it's unseasonably warm, it shouldn't be over, say, 90-ish degrees, but most likely
that's doable as long as it cools down a little bit at night. As soon as you get some reprieve once the sun goes down and stuff like that. So yeah, that's way more doable. That 110 was that was crazy. That was so brutal.
Yeah, and you guys aren't running. I mean, what you were doing, you don't have any type of creature comforts in there, right?
Yeah, not so much. The coolest I felt was when I urinated in my pants, but that's a different part of the show.
Go, man.
That's Urination podcast.
Yeah, that's the yellow the Golden Sleepover podcast.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Well, cool, man. That's super sweet that you got that going. Some stuff to look forward to. You know what? I really miss the rogue trips, and I know it's something that me and Dave had so much fun on, and I totally flaked on the last couple ones, which really bummed me out. But is there any any more rogue trips coming up that you might be looking at doing?
Yep. So some exciting stuff for next year. Actually, we have the winter expedition, which is typically run like early February. We have some military guys that are really excited about coming and potentially won't be back in the States until later in February. So most likely that'll be late February this year, maybe even pushed into the first week of March. We'll see how it goes. Working out the final details on that, but it's looking like a Four Corners type area. So catching that southern Utah, Arizona, potentially a little bit of maybe Colorado, New Mexico. That should be a lot of fun. I mean, they just are. The road trips are fun. And then exciting stuff for the summer trip. We're potentially working towards discontinuing the summer expedition for something really exciting. And I'll just kind of leave it at that and say keep an eye on our social media and some of the other people out there in the community. Keep an eye on their social media because there's going to be a really exciting thing happening in August of next year.
Well, it sounds like you're going all rogue on us there, man.
Yeah, it's going to be a Bronco ride. Just trying to deal with all this excitement. It's like riding a Bronc. I mean, that's the only thing that I could say. I do know a smidge about what's going on, and the Nissan Nation podcast, we know everything that there is, and we are secret, sly little bitchs, as my wife likes to say, because she doesn't cuss. But we know what's going on, and we're not allowed to tell. Just like we know everything that there is to know about everything that Nissan's coming out with, and we're not telling you because we're pretentious like that. So what I do know is that it's something badass that's going to come out very soon. I'm sure there'll be some announcements coming out once everything gets hashed out. But it sounds like a really cool thing, and we're going to work very hard because we've been in talks as well about being part of it and doing what we do, bringing live awesome content from live awesome places. So we'll announce that when it's ready to be announced.
Will we get our press
will
our press credentials be there for when we need to cover this event?
Yeah, I just know that the Nissan Nation podcast guys, myself, Holden, and Dave, particularly Holden, he's very particular. Mints on pillows. We want a nothing but orange crush. Was it Blue Monsters, Dave? I can't remember.
No,
Blue Monsters.
Well, yeah, the low carb.
Low carb Blue Monsters
What color M&Ms though? Which ones do
all green M&Ms.
Okay.
And we need hashtag Titan Adventure on everything.
Yeah. Well, we need hashtag the Groot's the best.
Well, as we wind this down, man, anything going on vehicle wise with you, man? Obviously, you have your big Nissan Xterra and you've got your Toyota, man. Anything cool happening to those vehicles?
No. For the moment, they're where they are. The Nissan, the Xterra with the solid axle swap. We actually have a YouTube review of that, which is live, so you can go check out all the details on that.
We noticed the shirt at the end there.
And you can see the amazing wardrobe change at the end of that video. So if you don't know what, go watch that video. And then, the Tacoma, originally built as basically a way to get the family out. I mean, I do it in the Xterra, but when there's all 5 of us, it is very, very tight. So yeah.
Nobody cares about that, Rick. Oh, sorry, I just coughed. That was very rude. Nobody.
But yeah, no, my rigs they're where they are for the moment.
Well, good.
Which is kind of nice. Like, I mean, I've come the opposite way. Like, I got my rig to where I wanted it, and then I backed it off and took everything up and sold it because I'm all race truck life now. But where I was at, I was pretty I didn't need to buy a lot of stuff. I was pretty happy. I got everything done. Right. I mean, there's always something that you can do. I'm like, oh, now I need a VK swap. Now there's like a million things that I want to do that I'm not going to.
Yep.
But it is nice to have it like just, hey, throw everything in the back. Let's go do some stuff.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like you're in that building phase, which is fun. But man, the building phase is expensive. It's a lot of long hours in the garage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now it's just okay. Check all the nuts and bolts before a trip. All right, we're good to go.
Yeah, I'm currently in the. I should probably fix all the things I haven't fixed over this year that I put off fixing on my truck. So, if you haven't got to that part to where you've broken a lot of stuff now from long roads, you're in the golden zone, as I like to call it.
Yep.
Everything's fixed. Everything's good. You just go out and adventure. Eventually, you have to start replacing all kinds of like random things that. After like 7 or 8 adventures, you're like, oh man, these things gave me some good life. Time to replace them. So.
Yep, I got my tie rods. All the stuff on the connectors for all the steering. Even though it's 1-ton stuff on the Xterra, those boots wear out. I mean, things just take a beating with all the off-road miles.
Yeah, off-road miles. It's like I want to say it's about 3 times the beating, maybe 4 times the beating that it is on road. Like all my boots everywhere, all the boots on my truck are destroyed. I got to replace all the boots. So that and shocks. I mean, You'll see the video. You'll see my video pop up on Pismo, my Pismo trip. But I was like jumping my truck, and it was already beat up at that point. So, I mean, I wasn't like slinging it, but at the same time, like. It was a truck that needed like a shock rebuild, like sending it like a couple feet in the air.
Oh, wow.
Well, it's a good thing there's no dealerships that might have bought that truck listing right now,
Yeah, it definitely needs some love after that. But that's cool, man. That's awesome that you got a lot going on and you're still killing it. I'm stoked. And you guys sell some merch still on the website?
Yeah, we have, if you want to represent some rogue stuff, we have hats, we have the buffs, the hiking buffs.
Oh, can I put a plug on the buff?
Yeah.
I was in 110-degree weather racing, and one of the best things that I had, because I would like race in the race truck, and I would get out and then I would gas the truck up, and I'm in full race suit and helmet and like literally just stinking of sweat, and I had the buff on it, and like I yanked it off, put water on it, put it back off, and it was like the one thing all day that was like, okay, this thing's freaking awesome. So I'm not gonna lie, like that buff like saved my life. I mean, not necessarily saved my life, but it saved my day. It was like the one thing that kept me cool. And everybody was like, dang, because all the guys I was racing with from Oregon, they're like, dang, you guys down here in the heat, you know how to stay cool. I'm like, this is my Nevada boys hooked me up with this thing, dude. This thing saved me, dude. So that buff is legit. If you're going to be in some hot weather, get a little cool, throw that thing around your neck. Oh, man. It drops your temps.
Yep, it's good stuff. It's when we're running around filming on trips, we usually, especially when it's super hot, like you said, just get it wet, and that evaporative cooling works great. So
yeah, that's funny.
But yeah, it's all on the website, rogueoverland.com, and then there's a thing there that says, I think it says shop, and yeah, you can check out the Rogue Overland gear there. So
way cool.
Yeah.
Well, Nick, man, as we wind this down, man, we appreciate you being on the show again, and we hope to cover some of your newer events coming up. And till next time, buddy, we'll see you on the trails.
I love you so hard, Nick.
You guys have a good one.
All right.
See you, brother.
All right, so that was Nick Savacci, and I want to say I appreciate Nick being on the show.
Yeah, great friend of the show. Always, we've always supported those road guys. Back when they were when they ran Gone Moab, one of the best Gone Moabs I've ever been to.
Before it had its decline.
When they split because of their poor treatment, and afterwards, and when they've been doing all this rogue stuff, they've been great guys through and through.
Right.
So I love those guys.
And speaking of Gone Moab, Danny, I did a video a week or so ago, and it didn't go over very well with certain people of Gone Moab. And I'd like to say I'm sorry about that, guys, but I'm really not, man. So I'm not gonna sit here and beat up the event coordinators, because I know what it takes, and it's hard work. And
yeah, most of the event coordinators are great guys, and they do put in a ton of work. And it just takes one bad apple sometimes to poison the well.
Right. It does. And I think I'd kind of poke the bear a little bit, because I got some text messages about that after the fact. But guys, we have a platform here, and if we see something that we're not happy with, and that event, what I am not happy about that event, I don't care who runs it. It's a Nissan event, though, and ultimately that is what I care about. If you want to go start a new event, look at the road guys, for example. Big Nissan guys. I mean, big Nissan guys. They went and did their own thing. Guess what? They don't care what you drive. And Nick's got a Toyota, and he's got an Xterra, and they most of the crew seem to have Xteras, but I don't care about that. But don't go tarnishing something just so you can look a little cooler. Just so maybe the Jeep guys or the Toyota guys will want to look at you and go, oh, I want to hang out with him, because that's what it seemed to turn into, man. So Gone Moab, I've heard new leadership might be coming. I'm hoping for it, and I'm hoping that it gets back to its roots of Nissan.
It gets back to its roots. Speaking of getting back to its roots, Dave. I want to do a sweet shout out tonight of Stephen Lutz from Rugged Rocks.
Yeah.
Is I'm calling it a day in the dirt. It's Steve-O's campfire. That's what he's calling it. It's not an organized event. This is how he used to do it way back in the day. And Steve-O's a killer dude. He just likes the simple way of doing things. I mean he can be a complicated dude, and I love him.
we all can be.
He's a smart, amazing dude. But sometimes I think he likes this best because it's simple, it's going back to the roots. And he's having what he's calling Steve-O's campfire, what I'm calling a day in the dirt, or multiple days in the dirt. October 12th, out in Johnson Valley. You can look it up on Facebook. It's called Steve-O's Campfire, and that's STEEEVO apostrophe S campfire. And basically that's over where they do the King of the Hammers. And people are just going to show up and wheel. I know there's going to be a ton of Nissans. There's probably going to be other guys there. There's going to be rock buggies. There's going to be hopefully race trucks. We'll see. There's going to be all kinds of things out there. And those dudes are always happy to say, hey, hop in the passenger seat and I'll take you for a ride. And that's so much fun to do. So if you're in SoCal or if you're in Arizona, Nevada, somewhere on there, I highly recommend you coming out. I think there's going to be a huge turnout, possibly better than some of these big events. Who knows? But I think it's going to be a huge fun turnout, and it's going to be just dudes hanging around campfires, telling stories and wheeling. And
we need to get we need to really get more back into that, man. Events, they don't have to be events anymore. I've talked about it a little bit that next year's Went will be my last running Went, and me and Luke have talked about just making it kind of the same thing of just like, it's just an unorganized show up in name of Went and just go do something. But I always had fun when you would on a forum, you're like, hey, we're going to Wind Rock this weekend. If we see you there, we see you there. If not,
Yeah.
And the fun times about that is there's always these vocal guys that are like, I'm going to be there, I'm going to be there, I'm going to be there, and they never show up. But it's always the people that you never see talk about it at all, and all of a sudden they're there, and you're just like,
they're there just doing the thing, right?
Yeah, you don't have to make an announcement anymore, I mean, obviously we're in the news business, and we're in the kind of we're out there publicly, so when we do things, sometimes they do need to be something, but sometimes it's just like when you just show up and just go be guys or gals and just go wheel and share stories of your day, have a few, beers.
Yeah,
I guess
nobody's trying to make money. Nobody's trying to push a product on you. Nobody's trying to do anything. It's just, it's for the love of it,
Mm-hmm.
And, sometimes you can say, okay, this event is for the love of it. And I'm sure the massive parts of it are for the love of it, but at the same time, there's a whole lot of sponsors and raffles and this angle and that angle, and whether it's a company that's showing up to push something on you or something like that, it will always lose a little bit, I think, when you have some of that, as opposed to that good old fashioned, like, people meeting up to try and just enjoy one another's company and enjoy, your combined interest in something cool. So, and especially when it's like for me, I've been out to Johnson Valley with Steve-O a couple times, and I love hanging out with that guy, and he grew up out there. So going out there and seeing him and some of his buddies, and they're like, oh yeah, we used to do this, and just doing that over and over again, it's cool. And that's kind of the same as Went. Went's not nearly as commercialized as some might think. It really does have, and that's what I loved most about Went. Every time I went, is at the end of the day, you'd still sit around a fire and drink beers together and say, play some music and just BS at each other and talk about your day or whatever, So,
or in your case, you
that's
get
one
on
of the best parts about it.
Your case, you get out on the trails and somebody start playing some, techno music, and you'd be on there Xterra dancing or something.
That may have happened. I don't remember.
And speaking of that, did you hear that Vladi sold his Xterra, man?
I did. He sold it to James, huh?
Soto bought
Traders,
it, man. The first gen trader. I
know.
He's all excited by it, and I don't blame him, man. You get you a new car. Anytime you get a new car, you should be excited by that. And
you know what Vladdy bought? Replace it?
I don't know. I know he's got a Titan.
Not a Jeep, I don't think.
Well, sometimes we all go down that dark path,
Yeah.
Traders. Oh man. So also, guys, me and Danny's got a new show coming up. We've talked about it a little bit, But it was going to be the three amigos still, but Holden just, Holden's a young guy and he's got young babies and stuff, and it didn't make sense for him to put in all this extra time. But the Truck Life podcast is coming up, and we've got a website up. It's probably not finished yet. It's probably only a website in name, but get that on your radar, guys. We've got an Instagram page. If you'll go to Truck Life Instagram, I believe we have a YouTube page that's been started. If you'll go ahead and start subscribing to that stuff. And we're Nissan to the core. But that doesn't mean we don't love other vehicles, whether it be a Jeep or a Ram or whatever. We've kind of reached the point where we love trucks, and obviously this podcast is heavy trucks, but we do love their cars. But at the end of the day, me and Danny are truck guys, and we want to talk more than just Nissan. So, and
yeah, we want to cover racing across all the brands. We want to cover modification, really cool builds. I don't even want to say modification. Yeah, cool builds across the brand. We want to bring you as much cool truck stuff as we possibly can, and there's so much stuff out there, and we want to be able to let you guys in on some of that, and try and bring you some good content, and work with other brands and see what's coming out, see what's going on.
That's right, man. Clearly there's enough of these YouTuber guys out there that don't even know what they're talking about when they talk about trucks. So why not let some people who might know a little more about trucks talk trucks? But we if you guys would go to our Instagram and stuff, we've got a Facebook page, Truck Life. Just start going ahead and kind of subscribing to us, follow us along. It would mean a lot to us. Once again, we're not leaving the Nissan world. We love this, and we love talking with you guys about Nissan. But sometimes you got other interests, whether it be, like when me and you went to that American Adventurous thing in North Carolina, and we got to see those Unimogs and stuff.
Yeah,
sure. There's so much to talk about, and just me and you in our daily life see so many cool vehicles. Whether you're on a military base that probably get to see cool trucks every once in a while, and things that load up ammunition.
Actually, Dave, on Saturday I installed the H1 tires, not the split rim tires, but it was a civilian H1, and it had those big plasticky rubber things. It looks like two giant C, like the letter C, and you have to bolt them together inside the tire. I've never put together a shittier thing in my life. It was literally bent over, like I was squatting, reaching deep in the tires, it was so freaking hard. It took me an hour to mount each tire on the rim with these things inside the tires, because they're like a run flat thing. It's like a big plastic thing inside the wheels.
Right.
That the tires go on if they lose air. Oh my gosh, David. It was an absolute nightmare. That's an aside. Sorry, but yeah.
This is the kind of compelling talk that you're going to get on Truck Life, guys. So.
Yeah, the compelling talk about all kinds of weird stuff that we end up coming across.
Right.
And hopefully we'll talk to people that have better stories than me.
And we're really wanting to, and if you guys have, ideas towards the show, we're welcome. We want to hear what kind of where you guys always lead us with the podcast. We always kind of keep an eye on what you guys are talking about, and that's kind of what guides our ship. We really we're working hard to want to do some tire reviews. Danny's got a great end with tires. He can talk about, what might be best for some trucks. It doesn't work on others. Obviously, we want to just talk about trucks in general. I'm never going to have a show that gets into breaking down axles and stuff. So if you're into that probably won't happen. But we are going to get into, diesel talk and a little bit of that. And we've got people like Josh over there at CFT who knows diesels in and out.
We'll bring in the experts that break that stuff down for you better than we can, because we don't need to do that.
That's right. That's right.
We know enough to get ourselves into trouble on Facebook.
Danny knows enough to talk about peeing his pants in a race truck. That's about as far as it goes. Well, so as we wind this down, man, I want to say shout out to all my Nissan people over there at HQ. You guys have had a bad couple weeks, man. Whether just by no fault of your own, just whether the flack that you're getting for the Cummins thing, or the flack that I'm getting for my country version of every once in a while that G pops in Cummins and you hear Cummings, and dude, I've taken so much garbage for that. And you're like, dude, Diesel guy in general, man. You guys are your own animal, but you got to let Country Dave every once in a while. You just got to ignore my little country slangs.
I love the Cummings.
Well, I think they hear a G sometimes when I don't even say it, but I've taken a lot of crap for that. And to wind the down of saying Nissan, I know you guys have had a rough couple weeks. When I had my lunching with them, they were like, "Look, this engine was the last piece of bad news that we kind of needed to get out of the way before we could start bringing the good news." So, next month, guys, you've got the new Titan supposed to appear, so that's really cool. I passed one the other day, Danny. I wouldn't say it's a major change, but there's some changes that I seen to it that looked really cool. Yeah. If you're not on our Instagram page, I posted them up there. So, anyways, so from all things Nissan to wherever you are, whether you be in Australia, England, wherever our listeners are, man, we really do appreciate everybody. If you will go to our Patreon page, if you want to help us out, that means a lot. If you just hit that old red subscribe button on YouTube, you guys have come out strong. I was under 400 subscribers till a week and a half ago, and I think we're at 430 now. So you guys have really came on strong for us, and that means a lot, man. We do appreciate the support. It's going to help us years down the road. And Danny, your DeGroot thing, man, you're doing good, right? You got your thing going?
Yeah, DeGroot X on YouTube. Subscribe, and DeGroot X on Instagram. Those are my primaries. Try not to spread myself too thin these days.
Well,
and a final huge shout out to AMR Racing, Todd Walters, Melissa Walters, Joe, Dan, Jordan, Carey, all those guys that kind of put that we're in the team that got us to the finish line. There was 255 racers, 154-ish finished. Just finishing that race is like
that's an
amazing feat, and all those guys helping and getting everything done. And I'm just super blessed to be a part of that team, and stoked to be just to be friends with such like amazing, cool people that are just everybody's nice and helpful and friendly and willing to just take anybody under their wing and let them fly with them.
Well,
so thanks again to them. So.
Well, and obviously Holden was on here a little bit ago, but some storms are in his area and he lost some internet. So I want to say thanks for Holden for attempting to come do the podcast with us. But
you got a couple words in.
And once again, guys, we've seen that Gen 3 Frontier, and I can't say enough cool things about it. I'm not BSing you when I say I have a picture of it, but I cannot share it.
As soon as we get the green light, we promise we will bring it to you.
Yep. As soon as Nissan PR over there gives me the thumbs up, we're going to do it. So from all things Nissan here in Middle Tennessee to wherever you listen to us, man, I want to say a big shout out to my buddy Danny over there holding on the ATL. This is your Nissan Nation podcast. And what are we, Danny?
Peace.
We're out. Peace, everybody.